Clear thinking leads to a smooth life and a promising future. Xiefeng. February 1, 2022. I mainly study the books without words. The natural phenomena and social changes are books without words, and people are also books without words. Reading people is like reading books without words. After studying many individuals, I've noticed a pattern: the clearer and more organized one's thinking, the smoother their life tends to be. Conversely, a disorganized mind leads to a difficult life. A core factor for an unsatisfactory life is a confused thought process. If one's thinking is muddled, their life is bound to be turbulent. From this, we understand that to make our life smoother, our first step should not be to pursue external success, but rather to adjust our thinking. Once our thoughts become clear, a smooth life will naturally follow. To predict someone's future, don't focus on their wealth, status, or facial features and physiognomy based on the 8 characters, Ba Zi. Instead, pay attention to the clarity of their thinking. If their thoughts are unclear, their future will likely be chaotic. If their thoughts fluctuate between clarity and confusion, their future will be a mix of success and failure. However, if someone's thinking is consistently clear, even reaching a state of profound understanding, their life will not only be smooth but will also lead them to a heavenly realm. The direction a nation or a country is headed can be determined by the clarity of the thinking of its citizens, especially that of its leadership. If the thinking is unclear, without a doubt, the future of that nation or country will be in turmoil. On the contrary, if the thinking is clear, the future will be bright, leading to prosperity and success. If you don't believe my viewpoint, you can randomly select an elderly person and observe whether their life has been smooth or not. If it has been, then check the clarity of their thinking. Without a doubt, it will be clear and organized. Take the case of a high-ranking official who has been steadily advancing in their career for over a decade. Suddenly, they commit a crime and are imprisoned, and their assets are confiscated. They experience a major setback. Is this a result of clear thinking or confusion? Undoubtedly, it is due to unclear thinking, as they believed that being in a position of power allowed them to act with impunity. Their lack of clear thinking led to this outcome. When someone writes an article, if it lacks focus, is rambling, has disjointed arguments, and is full of loopholes, without a doubt, their thinking is unclear, and their life will certainly not be smooth. Anyone who follows such an individual, no matter how many people he attracts, will ultimately suffer. Similarly, look at a person's living environment. If their bedroom, yard, and surroundings are dirty and messy, with garbage scattered everywhere, clothes and bedding left in disarray, and dishes piled up in the sink, there is no need for further analysis. Their thinking is undoubtedly unclear, and their life will match their environment, chaotic and disordered. How to make one's thinking clear? This question is too broad and extensive to be fully revealed in a few sentences. It involves one's past merits, faith, worldview, values, and outlooks on life and life. However, one point worth considering is to read more books, travel more, observe more, and engage in deeper contemplation. Extend the scope of your thoughts as far as possible into the distant future. For example, the results of thinking about something 1 year ahead will be different from thinking about it 10 years ahead, and thinking about it 100 years or even 1,000 years ahead will be entirely different. The longer the time span of your thinking, the clearer your mind will become. Short-term thinking leads to scattered thoughts, and as a result, your mind cannot be clear. Conversely, long-term thinking leads to a clear mind, short-term thinking leads to confusion. Cognition within the same dimension cannot resolve internal conflicts. Xiefeng. May 17, 2023. Can those who love marriage and family solve the series of conflicts and crises that occur within them? The answer is, impossible. It's like standing in a muddy pit and trying to clean your feet, it's not possible. Just as a mouse cannot solve the crisis of being caught by a cat with its level of cognition, and just as a patriot cannot build a world of great harmony. It's as futile as a fish trying to fly to a forest to settle in and sing. Farmers cannot solve their own contradictions and crises, and likewise, workers and intellectuals cannot solve their own contradictions and crises. Similarly, a nation, a country, a political party, and a religion cannot resolve their own contradictions and crises because cognition within the same dimension cannot solve conflicts within that dimension. Humanity itself cannot solve its own contradictions and crises because human cognitive ability is limited by time and space. It always tends to focus on one thing at the expense of others. When one contradiction is resolved, it will sow the seeds of another 8 contradictions, and when one crisis is resolved, it will give rise to 8 more crises. People coming from other places can easily discover the deficiencies and shortcomings of the local area. People from developed areas can easily find business opportunities and make money in less developed regions. The contradictions and crises of an underdeveloped or even impoverished country need people from developed civilizations to resolve them. Humanity's contradictions and crises require extraterrestrial beings to solve. From this, we understand a principle: to resolve conflicts, confrontations, and crises, do not seek solutions and approaches within the same dimension. Internal contention results in an increase in entropy, leading to rigidity and death. Instead, actively and proactively introduce people and cultures from different dimensions to overcome one's own contradictions and long-standing problems. The more pronounced regionalism, nationalism, and patriotism, the less conducive it is to resolve one's own contradictions and crises. This principle also applies to individuals. The stronger the ego, the better one feels about oneself, and the more reluctant one is to listen to others' advice, the greater the hidden crisis on the path of life. Because individuals cannot truly know and understand themselves, those around them are more aware of their situation. When a person rejects the advice of others and stubbornly insists on their own course of action, crises and dangers await ahead. Therefore, when a person is troubled, suffering, and worried, the best approach is to abandon their own cognition and seek external methods to solve the problems. If one always believes they are right and refuses to listen to others' advice, their troubles, suffering, and anxieties will not decrease but instead increase. In conclusion, do not seek solutions and ways to resolve crises within the same dimension of people and culture. Instead, look to people and cultures from different dimensions to find solutions and paths to overcome problems and crises.